Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla, let's go over the market, and let's figure out what has happened and what we can expect moving forward. As usual, this is not financial advice and I am not a financial advisor. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. And of course, my membership section on YouTube is live. If you're interested, the link is down below. All that being said, let's jump into it. Tesla closing the day in the green, up about 1.7%, which is going to be putting us at about $276 per share. Now, today was a bit of another kind of slow, boring day, just a very slow grind, but arguably something potentially important has happened today, which we'll discuss. Two things, maybe three, but two main things I'm personally really paying attention to or have already happened that can lead to something. So let's get into it. First and foremost, well, okay, let's actually start with this first, right? I want to just kind of get this out of the way, right? This obvious hammer candle, which could have been a potential top signal, obviously it has not been, right? This is why you always want to see follow through whenever you see these, right? Because this is why I said potentially a top signal. You need to see follow through. So this hammer candle, irrelevant now, right? Completely ignored, pretend it doesn't even exist almost, in my opinion, at this point. Now, let's get into the two things I was talking about. The first thing is going to be the potential bullish thing, right? And that's going to be pretty simple. You can see as we were grinding for the past, a few days, pretty much right in this little fest or a situation right here, a grind fest in the situation right over here. We haven't been doing a whole lot. We were just going sideways, not really doing too much. But now you can see we finally broke above a pretty important level, right? We got rejected several times around this kind of 275-ish level. We could never really close a 65 or 1 hour candle above 275, nothing meaningful at least, right? But it looks like it has finally happened because this candle right over here, this one right here, let me just zoom in on this to make sure, this one or right here, right? The one with the long wicks on both sides with a small little body. This is the candle that I talked to my members about. I talked about it, I believe, right here. No, this one here. If this 65-minute candle can close around this level or higher, it could be promising, right? And it closed pretty much right around that level. Actually, just ever so slightly lower, but it was thankfully just barely enough. Why? Because you can see it closed at a level that none of these candles could. And the most important thing to understand here is that they couldn't do it in a sense that a lot of these candles, like this candle, even this candle, the candle right before the one that, actually did finally close, they all have wicks that went well into that area, ever so slightly or well into that area, but they all got massively rejected, leaving fairly long wicks in their wake. Right? So that's the important thing. They just couldn't do it. And this is the first candle that was able to finally close above all of these levels that constantly provided over and over a rejection, a resistance, right? So the fact that it did it was a good sign, right? It wasn't the most convincing close in the entire world because it was just ever so slightly above it, but sometimes that's enough. And that's exactly what happened. We had a beautiful follow through and now we had a beautifully strong looking candle with a little bit of increase in volume as well that just pushed us right past these levels and also closed right above these levels that none of these candles before could. And then following that, which is what I talked about to my members, personally through blah, 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 I think it was this one here. Nice first of all, we were surprised to get a small retest tomorrow morning is what I expect. I thought it'll be tomorrow morning, but it happened earlier, which was this candle right here. So if you go on a little bit of a smaller time frame, you'll get a little bit of a better idea, right? So like here, for instance, so you can see same concept, right? We just couldn't close candles and then we finally started closing candles above, and that's beautiful to see. And then we came up, right? That was the rally. We just saw the strong candle with slight increase in volume. And then of course we came back down, got that textbook retest, and we took what was an old level of resistance way over here into now a support. We turned a resistance into a support, the classic retest. And so far we've been pushing off of it and it's looking not too shabby. So that's kind of the idea. That's number one. That's the bullish thing, right? And your question might be, okay, cool, fine, awesome. Where is this going to take us? But first level I'll be looking at is about 280 to 285, anywhere in that range, right? That range is going to be really, really important because that's going to be the range that this level over here got rejected. We got rejected on a few times over here as well. But anything higher than that, I really would be shocked if we go much higher than, honestly, like 285, 290. Like that would be surprising for many reasons. So the first and foremost reason, let me go ahead and zoom out here so I can get these drawings back. It's going to be, well, first, again, there's many things. First is going to be the fact that if we go up to this level, obviously just an overall area resistance, right? It'll also be potentially setting up for that double top pattern that I showed you guys many, many times, right? Where if I open up, let's say, trading view, TransPattern doesn't let you draw. I mean, I guess you know what, maybe I could actually do it like this. I'll show it to you guys like this instead. So, right, we have a potential double top. So from here, this massive rally, so we had this rally, it came up all the way up here. Then we had a beautiful retrace. Now we're pretty much going back up, and we're only like a few percent away, like maybe 4% or so away from getting back to the same level that we were over here, right? Pretty much right before earnings. So like I said, there is a potential still that this would be very bearish, by the way, but there's still a potential that we rally up into this kind of 290s, close to 300, somewhere around there, and then we get a rejection. And then we can potentially set up a double top, and that would be a very ugly double top, which would play out in a very ugly fashion and would take us meaningfully lower, right? The way you measure double tops is as follows. You take it from the top, so in this case, the double top situation, which is going to be these two right here, right? And then you essentially draw roughly a line taking from that all the way to where the center point is, like that center point of the M, which is going to be pretty much this 210 right here. And the most important level that you don't want to be breaking for this double top pattern to actually truly take into fruition or like actually be executed is usually when it breaks this level right here. So for instance, if we have a double top and we come back down and we break below 210, that is going to be exceptionally bearish, not only because this pattern will actually start executing and it will take us pretty far below, like this will take us probably to the mid to low 100s roughly, right? Which would be quite bearish. But that also on the weekly, for instance, would suddenly make us do a potential lower high and a potential lower low, and that's where the trend will start to change, because at the moment you can see we're obviously setting higher highs and higher lows right from here. So we set a high, then we set a low, then we set a higher high, then we set a higher low, and now potentially we're looking to set another higher high. If we can't, and let's say we only come up to about roughly the same level, if not ever so slightly less than what the highest point of this candle was, which was about pretty much $300 on the spot, right? Let's say we do like this, and we're pretty much not really going too much higher. And then we start setting lower lows and we go below that 210. That's going to be bad because now we officially set a lower low. And then that will also be breaking out of this wedge. And then most likely we'll come back up to retest the wedge, something like this, most likely get rejected. And then we most likely will go even lower to the ultimate price target of the double top pattern, which will be somewhere around the mid 150s. Again, this is all just an example of what can potentially play out. It doesn't mean it, of course, has to, but there is a very real possibility that this does happen. So this is something that you definitely want to pay attention to, regardless if you're a bull or a bear. If you're a bull and you're ignoring the bearish side, that's just a mistake, and vice versa. If you're a bear ignoring the bullish side, that's a mistake. You always need to look at both sides. It's extremely important. So that's going to be that. However, with that being said, there is one important caveat to understand even through all of this. So if we come up to do the double top pattern, right, and let's say it does potentially happen and we go up to about 290, 295, whatever, something like that. The interesting thing is the fact that we are arguably breaking out of this overall red trend line resistance, pretty much the one that started ever since all-time highs. And then we got a rejection, then we got a rejection, and now we're pretty much getting a rejection over here. Rather, we got it right before earnings, and now we're very close to it. We're only just a few dollars away, which is going to be somewhere around that low to mid 280s. So if we break above that, then it's kind of like, okay, well, what's going to be stronger? What trumps what, right? Is it going to be the double top pattern that wins, or is it going to be just the fact that we broke out of a very, very, very long downtrend? Because that can also lead to this situation right here. If we break out, and let's say we do get to 300, and let's say we get rejected. Okay, now the worries of the double top pattern start to exist. People are starting to worry about it. Oh my goodness, it might happen. But then there's still a chance that we come back down to retest, just like I always say, you always retest breakouts. In this case, it would be a breakout. To retest this breakout, which will bring us back down to somewhere around the 280s to somewhere around maybe even the 270s, right? And assuming this is successful, we can be extremely bullish here and actually get a massive rally moving forward. That is also a possibility. So take that into account, right? This could be very, very bullish for Tesla. So just understand that there's so many ways this can play out. There's a lot of things on the table, right? Especially for a month like September and October, usually the most volatile, like summer is very volatile for the market, especially September and October. And we're not seeing too much of the volatility right now, which is surprising. Second half September can be completely different. So just take that for what it's worth, right? We're missing a lot of usual volatility that we see around this time of the year. So is it going to happen, or is it just going to completely not happen at all this time, right? That's the question, of course. But those are the situations that I would personally be paying attention to. Of course, the other option is the fact that we do rally up, like I said, to about $280, but we just simply get a rejection, right? This is also a possibility. We come up to here, we get a rejection pretty much right at that trend line, right at this resistance of around, again, that low-ish 280s. And then we just simply make our way back down, let's say, to the 50-day moving average, which is around the mid, roughly 250s. That's also a possibility. So there's a lot of things on the table right now, and we're gonna have to wait to see how it goes. But on the good, on the more confident and the more like bullish aspect is the fact that we did break out, we did close above 275, and it looks like we're probably gonna revisit the 280s. It's just a matter of, do we go higher? Do we break out? Do we set a double top pattern? Do we just get rejected at the trend line again? Those are all the questions that we're waiting for. And on top of that, we also have this potential bearish divergence setting up on the 1 hour or 65-minute chart, where now we're making higher highs on the chart on this very, very small micro time frame. But as we're making higher highs, we're actually making essentially lower highs over here. Ultimately from this to this, right? You can see we went higher. Obviously, the RSI is making lower highs, right? We're not going higher on the RSI like we are on the chart. So a little bit of a bearish divergence, with the MACD also looking a little bit on the bearish side as well, but nothing too completely crazy. And a bearish RSI like this, not a very confident one, so it can easily fall apart, but it's still something that I would be paying attention to and seeing how it develops on this move higher. Like if we go, let's say, to 280, right? Maybe 281 or something like that. Does the RSI break this high or not? That's what I'll be looking at as well, because if it doesn't, that's bearish. If it does, that's bullish. Or not bullish, but it removes the bearish side, in my opinion, for this specific angle. So a lot of things, a lot of factors here. So a lot of really important information to start to pay attention to over the next, honestly, maybe week or so, I would say, right? End of this week and especially next week, I think it'll be very important to see how this overall structure develops. And it's going to tell us a lot about the remainder of this month, and also moving into October, which is another pretty bearish month for Tesla. So keep that in mind, historically, of course, or seasonality, right? So just keep that in mind. Doesn't mean it always has to be, right? Obviously, September so far has been quite phenomenal. So you have to understand that it's not always guaranteed, but not something you want to ignore either. And the final thing I'll do before we close off this video, take a very quick look at option flow. Let's see what people are saying. How are people reacting to this move today? Increase the premium, and you can see a little bit of bearishness, but definitely more bullishness than bearishness overall. I would say about 80 to 20% bullish to bearishness respectively. So people are betting on a little bit more upside, and I would have to agree. I do think we'll come up to around the low 280s, but that's what I am seeing. That's what I'm thinking. So let me know what you think down below. A lot of information in this video, even though nothing really happened too much, but we are breaking some crucial levels, and we're getting into some very crucial territory that can definitely say a lot. So make sure you're on your toes. I'll be discussing it with my members and giving them updates as it happens, of course. So if you're interested, the link is below. You can join that as well. And yeah, otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.